What's up, guys? Isaiah is back home finally. It's been a minute. It's good to have you back, Isaiah, on the podcast. You've been away
Yeah,
for a few days, and
I went on a
you've
side
been on the
quest.
podcast, but you've been away,
Yeah,
and then you had some other responsibilities. Like I said, and the other day, you're being a good father. You're a father figure to many, but specifically to your daughter.
yeah.
And so today, we're going to be getting into
Got the baby monitor.
look at
Good
that
to go.
again. Good father. We're getting into the topic of fatigue related to why you had a higher back squat, belt squat specifically, than what you had on a power clean on the same day, 15, 20 minutes apart after being fully recovered. And I think there's a lot of context maybe that wasn't included in the video, but it was still something that I wanted to discuss because those posts seem to get a lot of traction, and it is a interesting topic, right? Of like, well, if jumping and power clean and squat are all related, how is it possible that you could possibly, for example, have your best jumping day but be squatting really shittily or be power cleaning really shittily? And we've seen this happen, or poorly, sorry, I'm trying to swear less. And we've seen this happen before in the past with other things, like you've PR'd your power clean before and then your front squat's down, or it's, you don't PR that. And I think that it's an interesting conversation. So why do you think that happens specifically, as an athlete? And I'll give my lens on it.
Yeah. For some context, the previous 2 months of training or 3 months of training, we've heavily focused on first it was isometrics, then we did overloaded eccentrics. Um, the type of power work we were doing were more loaded jumps. Before we usually do power work in the way of power cleans or some kind of Olympic lift variation. And my power clean had actually detrained. So last time we maxed after the eccentric cycle, it was down, I think, 30 pounds roughly is what the estimate is based on what I moved.
Are you
Uh,
saying the day that we went to that one gym, it was really
yeah,
distracting and the bars sucked, and yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so my power clean was down quite a bit. That my squat was also down, maybe like 5-10 pounds. Then we did 2 weeks of basically an undulating setup, intensity, intensity, volume, every other workout, with the goal of getting my power clean back up and my strength numbers back up. And right before leaving, the video show I was screen sharing. Did it pop up?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, you can share it.
Um, I missed 265.
It's gone now, by the way. You can't see the
Yeah,
video
yeah.
right now.
So I missed 265, and then later on that session, I hit a PR on the bell squat.
Of 360.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason why I think that happened, the main reason is I think power cleans are a more sensitive metric than squatting, than belt squats. So they are going to be, and specifically, they're going to be more sensitive to fatigue. They're going to fatigue a lot more quickly. Coming in, I was very tired. I was just starting to. I was feeling kind of like under the weather. Not a lot of sleep the previous night. I hadn't deloaded yet. That was literally the first lift of week or like I basically loaded for 2 weeks and then that was the first deload lift. So I wasn't unloaded at all. I had jumped I think 2 days prior to that, or lifted hard 2 days prior to that. So all the data would lead me to believe that I wouldn't clean well. Like I've never cleaned well when fatigued. Um And then the squat, I hadn't had a lot of like high volume squatting, a lot of max strength work in the weeks leading up to that. And then that cycle I had brought it back in. So it retrained really quickly. And that always happens. Like week one of high volume work, I usually see my squat like start to come back pretty well.
But you added in a lot of clean pulls and things like that. That doesn't apply for your clean.
Um well, that's where things get weird. Because normally,
And that's where things get a little bit interesting.
yeah,
So
I
let's
think
talk about it.
no, I would have expected to clean better that session. And it's part of the reason we were so disappointed looking in
Concerned.
that video.
Dude, it's
outside,
so funny because you're like laughing to yourself. Show the video because it's
like that was a day where I would have expected to, like, you got to understand 265 for me is very, actually this was this 265, 245?
265.
This was 260, bro.
260, bro. To 80% of your max. 260.
Yeah.
That's bad.
This is the weight where I can hit.
Wait, can you share it? Can you pin it? Here, I got it. I got it.
Is it
Here you
not
go.
showing up?
It is now. Yeah, you have to add it to the panel,
Oh,
but you can
gotcha,
see it now.
gotcha.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a weight where I can hit like any day, no matter how fatigued I am. Um,
Yeah, there's no reason
there,
you should be missing that. No reason
yeah,
why. And then the other thing is that your wattage on that lift was better than, so like you made 255 or something. I don't remember. Then
245, I think.
it was something like that. Then you lifted with a higher peak velo on this lift than the previous one and still missed it. That's where I was shocked because I think your peak velo on that was like 210 or something, 215,
Yeah,
and you still missed it. And the previous lift was slower and you had made the lift. And I was like, dude, your wattage is higher, your peak velo is higher, your average velo is higher. Like, there's no reason why you should have been missing this. And more backstory, Isaiah had been very fatigued, like coming into the sessions following high intensity. So, like any high intensity session, whether it was squat or it was for power, the next session is generally very, very bad. So this one was a blended session. No, this was an intensity session, but he was coming off doing a jump session and then volume the following day. So it was like jump Friday, volume on Saturday, Sunday off. This is the Monday lift. And he was supposed to leave and go to All Star the following day. So this was a very important lift because he had an easy jump session. We cut it very easy. He was very fatigued and an incredibly easy lift on Saturday, but comes into Monday and I'm expecting him to like feel slightly better. Now at this point, he's had very easy lift off the day prior, usually generally good sessions, right? Not coming off intensity outside the jump session. But those sessions, have been mostly pulls in the previous week or two. And we haven't really gotten great metrics on those like lifts. Like your wattage typically jump way down. You typically see fatigue set in around set or rep number 2 or 3 whenever you're at working loads. And then you've been really, really good with the volume work on the strength stuff. But when I showed up to his house, because I drove over and Isaiah was napping and I had to stop at the bank, or I don't remember what I had to do, but I showed up. I had to go somewhere and then go over to Isaiah's. And he was very tired looking. We're talking like groggy eyes. We're talking like bad looking, like just he explained it like this. I feel how my daughter feels after a nap, just like this. Like,
yeah.
I literally walked up to him and I was 5 feet away from him and he still didn't see me until I was like, yo, like, what's going on? He's
Yeah,
like,
I was like a zombie. I was like,
yeah. He was like, oh, hey. And I was like, we need to go get caffeine. So we go get some caffeine. We come back, try to warm him up as best possible. His wife shows up and we're chit chatting or whatever while he's lifting. And it was abysmal. I'm talking every metric at every weight was down. And generally we have the same buildup every time. And I'm trying to like get him hype, mind you. I'm trying to like hype him up. I'm trying to get some energy in the session. And it's just not going well. And I was like, okay, maybe he just needs more of a time warming up. Maybe he just needs to dial in. And it's just not happening. At one point we tried putting more weight on the bar to like scare you into like lifting heavier, because sometimes that works for me and sometimes it works for you. That didn't work, and you were missing 80% loads. And then you did 255 or 245 after that. I think it was 2 reds, so 245.
2 reds is 265.
No, what was it? Okay, so you missed that one badly. Then we went down, I think, to a red and a blue. What's that? 245.
Yeah.
And you almost missed that. Like, it almost buried you. And I was just like, what is happening? Like, yeah, I was just like, this is so bad. So we kind of talk about it in the YouTube video, but I basically was like, dude, I think your pulling has made you, a lot of the pulling volume, I've seen your velos drop a lot. We're talking like 50% across the set. And I think that's fatigued. That's one. Like, just pulling in general is fatigued. But generally that helps your power clean. So I wasn't expecting that. And we were doing singles, dude. It's not like we were doing doubles. We're doing
Yeah.
singles at 80%, dude. I've seen you double like 300 or something like that, or 295 with a pause or something stupid, like something insane.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is very atypical. And then he goes to All-Star and has his highest jumping day ever or top 3 jumping day ever on Wednesday. So this is 48 hours removed. Mind you, he wasn't supposed to jump. So it was kind of enlightening, but kind of like interesting because you kind of wonder how much better you could have jumped on Friday based on that,
Yeah.
right? Like it took you 48 hours to bounce back from that and you felt real bad. And generally when you're power cleaning well,
I'm jumping high.
you're jumping really, really high, right? Even more so than your squat. Like your squat can be high, but if you're power cleaning poorly, it typically means you're not going to jump well. I think we've seen the reverse at times though, haven't we? Where your squat's really high, but your power cleans. Nah, I don't know if we have. Not that much.
No. They generally are up at the same time.
Yeah. Like it was a very interesting sort of events. And so generally I agree with what you said. Like when your power clean's really down, it usually means that your sensitive metrics are also down. Jumping, sprinting, reactive stuff, 1 foot, you just feel flat. You know, you go into, you don't have that like electric feeling, which I didn't get to ask you. Did you have that feeling at the NBA court?
I
That's
don't know.
crazy. That's crazy.
I had a lot of adrenaline, but it felt like I had more in the tank. That's the best. I could tell I wasn't fresh.
That's insane.
But I had a ton of adrenaline. Like I was, bro. And the thing is I was looking at after that session, I was looking at like other good sessions, and I think I definitely had more in the tank. Like, yeah.
That is shocking. Exciting. It's exciting. And
Yeah.
we've talked about this, but we're just trying to make sure you don't go nuclear because did we podcast on Monday? I think we might have in the morning. Did we?
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, but you nearly went nuclear. You nearly imploded. We're
That was close.
talking you know, civilization changing event if you tear that IT band again.
Yeah. It
Or
was
partially
definitely on the verge of getting destroyed. And
which you didn't.
I
So
even think about how I warmed up, and it could have been faster on the Saturday show. But yeah, it was close. It was close to blowing up.
we avoided that, and I think that's something to be proud of. But in short, we were to sum this up, I think it was a combination of one, you being really groggy, even though we waited an hour though. So like I think, but the caffeine, I think the second is the caffeine hitting. The third is the pulling volume. I think the pulling volume has been higher than what it generally is, and the intensity of that has been really, really high compared to the squatting. I think that some people are like, oh, you're pushing with the hands more, things like that. But I don't think that's the case. Like we've tested it multiple times with the exact same hand positions. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the lift was changing. I don't think it was more hand support or anything like that. Like you're pretty good about being honest. You definitely were squatting all the way down, like you're on the pin. So I think that it's the caffeine hitting along with squats being way less sensitive to fatigue. Like
And
you
waking
can
up a
maintain
little
your
more.
squat. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the caffeine hitting, waking up, it's almost like it primed you for the squatting. But I still think you were fatigued. I still think it was like a bit of fatigue
That's
was
what it
still
felt
there
like.
from jumping.
I know
Yeah.
what fatigue looks like. I'm not a rookie.
I know, right? I'm one of them new kids, one of them newbies.
Yeah.
Like you know your body really well.
No,
But yeah.
these last couple months have been kind of like paradigm shifting for me. Like
In what regard?
just the way I'm jumping, but like I'm not like you look at my power clean. What I'm curious about would be the squat. Like if I were to deep squat, like
You would
barbell
hit.
deep squat, I'm so curious what that would be at right
I
now.
think once the loads get that high, stability plays an important role and doing a lot. But you've been already yelling and pulling a lot. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I think your
Yeah.
front squat would be up.
Maybe.
I don't even know.
Who knows? Because the only frame of reference we have now is belt squat. Like we don't really, and it's the
We haven't
first
been
time I've
doing
been
a lot of
doing
other
it,
stuff.
so we don't have like a reference
I'm getting
point.
a lot of questions about belt squat. like whether we like it more, if we would do it all the time. I think what you have to realize is the place that Isaiah is and I am are very different than most of you listening to this. Like, unless you've been training since you were 14 for like, I don't know, between 8 and 20 hours a week for, in my case, say 16, 17 years, in Isaiah's case, 14 years, like you probably don't need a belt squat. Our outputs are high enough where we are using it for very specific reasons that apply to ourselves. Like Isaiah has back pain. I have some hip stuff going on that allows me to get into deep knee flexion on it. Like it's a very specific case. It's a very case specific, what would you call that? Like utility?
Cool.
I don't know. Yeah. Like that's why we're doing it. So if you guys are watching that and you're like, oh, I gotta get a belt squat, like that's the key. No, I think I'd rather be deep back squatting if I could. And I think Isaiah would agree with that. I think we might add in deep back squat, like heel elevated. It's just last time Isaiah's meniscus got flared up from it. So we don't like to, and your hip too, right?
No. I didn't have issues with it. It was my knee. That's the reason we stopped doing it. That was during the functional overreach.
Was it the tendon?
Yeah.
I remember the session where I was like, yeah, dude, you just need to go and do like 4 sets of 6 slow. And then you did singles all the way up to like 30.
Yeah. That's literally when it happened. Like I was
like, I did not program this. And you're like, yeah, but I have to maintain my strength. I was like, dude, you're gonna die. And you're like, no, I'll be fine. You're like, I need to maintain my strength. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, I feel like that's a good place to stop. So that's my rationale of it. If you see your numbers go down at Ollie's, don't freak out. The last 6 months of training are not for nothing. You know, if you don't PR during a deload, don't freak out. It doesn't necessarily tell you the whole picture. Try to look at all of the data and make sense of it. How's your sleep? How have your numbers been in other lifts? What is your jumping like? What is your sprinting like? Are you in a stressful period of life? Is your diet really bad? Did your body weight go up? Did you not have chalk? Was the floor uneven? Like all those little variables can play a role in why your clean might not be where you think it should be. And I wouldn't panic about that. I would look at things holistically and try to make sense of it. And generally, if you don't know how to do that, you're always free to reach out to us if you're one of our athletes, and we can always kind of help you see the light at the end of the tunnel. That said, if you guys are interested in coaching, go to THPstrength.com. Right now it is $129 a month, I think. Right? What was that?
127.
127, which is still a really, really fair price. In my opinion, I think it's unbeatable. Remind you, this is something we used to charge like $700 a month for. So it's still we've been doing that the last year, and we don't plan on changing that price back up. So take advantage of that. We said that prices were going to go up, and they did go up. We weren't lying about that, but it's still really affordable. For perspective, when we started the business, it was $99, and that was in 2019 before inflation went crazy. So it's still a really fair price, and we've added a lot of expertise. We've Ben now, who's a PT, and Isaiah and I have been on messaging for basically an hour or two a day, just getting to you guys at separate times a day additionally. And yeah, we care a lot. I think that's the thing you guys have to realize is we want you guys to get better. And I was talking to Dylan Stone today, and it's like, you can't care more than your athletes do, but I genuinely have that problem. Like I take it personally when guys don't get better. So yeah, if you want to be a part of that and you're interested in getting coaching, go to THPstrength.com. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Ciao.
See you.